So Human Relations Commission regular meeting of Thursday, February 9th, 2023. I'm Adriana Eberly and I'm the vice chair, and we're going to go ahead and start our meeting. Elena, can you please take roll call?
Chair Smith. Vice Chair Eberly.
Here.
Commissioner Kraus.
Here.
Commissioner Navachoke.
Here.
Commissioner Savage.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you so much. Our first order of business is to adopt a resolution authorizing the use of teleconferencing for the Human Relations meeting.
Thank you. It looks like Elena is already doing what I was going to ask her to do, but so this is, as we've been doing for close to a year now, this is a resolution authorizing the use of teleconferencing for Human Relations Commission. This will be the last time that we do this, because in the next meeting, the new requirements that City Attorney Tim Shimizu went over last time will come into play. So if between this meeting and that meeting, if you have any questions about it, feel free to contact me. So we ask that we use the language as provided, and you can probably see on your screen. So we are looking first for any public comment, and then we will go into that. So I'm sorry, Elena, you were right the first time.
So public comment before the motion? Because
usually we discuss, and then we have public comment, and then we come back for, no, first is questions, public comment, and then we come back for discussion and motions. So yes, public comment now.
Okay, let's open for public comment on the resolution.
Hello.
Hi.
So if any members of the public would like to speak to a remote meeting designation, please put your virtual hand up. I don't see any, so we will go back to the screen for the motion. And let the meeting reflect that Chair Coloma Smith has arrived.
I'll go ahead and make the motion then. I'll make a motion to adopt a resolution authorizing the use of teleconferencing under Government Code Section 54953E for meetings of the Human Relations Commission and its committees due to the COVID-19 declared state of emergency.
I second.
Okay, Commissioner Savage has second. We're going to go ahead and vote. We'll start with Commissioner Kraus. Commissioner Navachoke.
Aye.
Commissioner Savage.
Aye.
And Chair Smith. And aye. Motion has passed. And I will turn it over to Chair Smith, who's now here.
I apologize, everyone, for my tardiness. All right. At this time, we will move. We've gone through public comment. We've done that. Have we done agenda changes, additions, and deletions?
We have not done public comment for oral communication public comment.
Thank you. At this time, we will open up oral communications. This is open to any item that is not on the agenda for this evening.
So if you'd like to speak to something that is not on the agenda, you may raise your hand now and I will give you permission to speak. I don't see any hands, Chair, so we will close the public comment time.
Thank you so much. Yeah, okay. This time we are at agenda changes, addition, and deletions. Are there any that the commission would like to do? Yes. Commissioner Kraus.
I would like.
Commissioner Kraus, could you turn on your microphone, please?
Red button.
Okay, am I heard? Yes. I would like to dedicate this meeting in the honor of Melissa Batten Caswell, who passed away on Monday and who was buried today. We honor the work that Melissa has done all of her life in Palo Alto. I know that Minka and I both knew her well, and she was dedicated to the fight for education for everybody. So I thank you all, and perhaps we could have just a moment of silence in her honor. Thank you.
Thank you. For general information, Melissa Batten Caswell served on the Palo Alto School Board. I would like to take a moment of silence because of this great public servant that we lost this week. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other agenda changes, additions, and deletions? All right, we are moving towards the approval of minutes. I will recuse myself from the vote. I will run the vote, but I am unable to vote since I was not here for that meeting. I will take a motion.
I have a motion to approve the minutes of the January 12th, 2023 meeting.
Okay. Do we have a second on that motion?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you so much. Vice Chair Eberly, we will start with Commissioner Savage. We're going to do the vote. Approving the minutes, we're going to do the vote.
Aye.
Commissioner Kraus,
Aye.
Commissioner Navachoke.
I also was absent for that meeting.
Okay. Vice Chair Eberly,
Aye.
we have a unanimous vote. Okay, thank you so much. At this time, we're going to get to business item number 3. I will turn this over to staff, please.
Thank you. So we are at the point of your meeting where you will be electing a chair and a vice chair for the next year for the Human Relations Commission. I'd like to go over the process and then see if anybody has any questions. So the process is that anyone on the commission may make a nomination for either themselves or someone else. There is no need for that nomination to have a second. It is needed that there is the majority of those present are required for someone to win the nomination. So we will take the time to have nominations, and Elena will write the names down. And then we will do the following. We will allow those who nominated. Well, first, then we'll ask if the person wants to serve. Then we'll ask the person who nominated them if they want to say something. And then we'll ask, no, the person who nominated the person will speak, then the person who is nominated will speak, and then we'll go to the members of the public, and then we will do a vote. So we will do a vote by each person separately if there is more one. So we will do an oral vote. And then once the chair is elected, the chair takes over the running of the meeting, and we will do the same process for the vice chair. So often we have the current chair just take a moment to talk about the responsibilities if folks feel like they need and would like to hear that. And then we will open up the nomination. So Chair Smith?
When do we do public comment?
We do the public comment after we have all the names of the nomination. The people who nominated them can say something if they wish. Because at the beginning, you can just say, I want to nominate X. Then the person who's nominated says something. Then the public speaks. Then we come back for the vote.
Thank you much.
You're welcome.
Um, I'm supposed to say something, right?
Just a few words about the responsibilities of the chair.
I think the chair of the HRC is absolutely critical for the city of Palo Alto. We are those that are the canary in the mine. We are those that speak for those that do not have a voice. We are those that look for the issues in the communities that are marginalized. The work of the chair is intensive, but it is very fulfilling. So that's it.
Okay, so I will now open the floor for nominations. So Vice Chair Eberly,
Anybody goes?
I think if you just give me a signal that you want to speak. There's only 5 of you, so it's not a grand circle of people I have to find.
All right, well, I would like to nominate Chair Smith for another term.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any additional nominations?
Yeah, I would be honored to nominate Michelle Kraus as chair.
Thank you. Any other nominations?
I would like to nominate Vice Chair Eberly to be the vice chair again.
The vice chair?
Mhm.
We'll do that after the chair
Oh, okay,
is,
very good.
yes. So any other nominations? Vice Chair Eberly, would you like to speak to your nomination?
Yes. I've had the pleasure of working with Chair Smith for the last couple of years. I feel that he's a leader inside and outside of this commission. He's got his finger on the pulse of what's going on in this community. I think there's still a lot of work left to be done. And I believe that he deserves another year to get this work done. And I'd be looking forward to working with him.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Savage,
Yeah.
with your microphone, please, Commissioner.
Okay. I've been continually impressed by Michelle Kraus's energy, her intelligence, and most importantly, her commitment and passion to community service. She's consistently gone above and beyond in her work for the HRC, and there's no question she has made a difference, a real difference. She's already demonstrated her leadership skills in so many ways, along with her remarkable commitment to the HRC. It's been a pleasure and a privilege to work closely with Michelle, and I believe her skill set and her willingness to go the extra mile will make her an extraordinary chair. Chair Smith has been great these past few years, but I'd like to see a change.
Thank you. So now we'll allow those that were nominated to say a few words. So Commissioner Kraus? If you have to accept the nomination, then if so, you will say a few words.
I accept the nomination. Thank you. And I am honored to hear the words from Commissioner Savage because they don't come easily. It's not easy to impress her. She's a tough egg. But we've done lots of amazing work, and I will commend Chair Smith for the extraordinary work you have done.
Thank you.
Your leadership has been outstanding. I'm ready to step up. I have over 20 plus years, probably more, because I'm humble about my age, in which I've done community service, from standing in the streets of the LA riots with a broom and sweeping the streets. And when the traffic stopped moving, I went out to direct traffic. The police went by and they shook their heads like, this is not the right place for you to be at this moment. But that's the story of my life. I've always gone where few would go. And I've always fought for human rights and civil rights and social rights. I believe the HRC is the most pivotal of committees and commissions at this point. We have to speak for those that cannot speak. We have to be aware of what their lives are like. And we can never stop changing the agenda or adding to the agenda because we are the voice for the voiceless. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Commissioner Kraus. I believe in this time where we continue to see the marginalizations of certain parts of our community, and where we continue to see that there needs to be significant work around race, ethnic, and community relations. The leadership I've shown in the last few years has spoken directly to that work. We're grateful for the opportunity in the past. And I will say this, that any commissioner on this commission can serve as chair. We have a amazingly well-trained, well-groomed, group of commissioners. But I believe I bring specific things as we deal with the NHPI agenda, and other areas that we're working on. So thank you.
Thank you. So now we will see if there's any comments from members of the public. So if any members of the public would like to make a comment regarding the election of the chair, please raise your hand. I see no hands. Okay, we will close public comment time. So I will go in the order in which the nominations were received. And so how this will be is I will say, I bring before you a nomination for Coloma Smith as chair, and then you will each get a chance to vote. If you vote yay, that means you are, so we do each person individually. I think that's the way, well, in the past, we've actually done them both at the same time.
We started doing it boys when we went to Zoom.
Yes. So is there a preference by the HRC if we do both candidates at once, or we do each one separately? There's not a specific, so why don't we just do that? We will do it in one vote. That will, so when I call on you, if you can put your vote down, and then Elena and I will track it, and then we'll go from there. So if you give the name of the person in which you wish to vote for. So I will do my best to do this alphabetically. So Vice Chair Everly. Okay, Commissioner Kraus.
Commissioner Kraus.
Okay.
And
Commissioner Navachoke.
Chair Smith,
Okay. Commissioner Savage.
Commissioner Kraus.
Okay. And Chair Smith.
Chair Smith.
Okay, so Chair Smith has received 3 nominations, so he is re-elected chair. So congratulations. So you can now take over the vote for the vice chair. It is the same process. I'm thinking of how I did public comment. We will open it up once again for public comment. We'll just go from there. So we will open it up for nominations at this time for vice chair.
I would like to nominate Vice Chair Everly.
Any other nominations?
Yeah, I'd like to nominate Commissioner Kraus.
Okay. Any additional nominations? Okay, so we'll do the same process in which we'll ask the people who made the nominations if they'd care to say any words.
I have been phenomenally impressed by the Vice Chair's work everything from interfacing with the Art Commission to what she's done with the renters protection to the other special projects. The other thing is, since her commission has been cut from 7 to 5, the work has become a lot. And Vice Chair Eberly has been willing to step up, even if it means calling in and after hours of travel from international to be in present for meetings. She does the work. She does an amazing job. I'm excited for her to come back as a vice chair.
Thank you. I will go to Commissioner Savage.
Well, in an effort to save time, I won't go through all of Michelle's attributes. But I just want to add that her passion and commitment and wisdom is something that is very impressive. And I think she'd do a great job as vice chair.
Thank you. So we will open it up to see if anybody has comments. Not seeing any, we will close public comment. And this time I'm going to go from the alphabet the other way. So the process would be same. So you would either say Commissioner Kraus or Vice Chair Eberly, or well, Commissioner Eberly. So I will start at the back and I will say Chair Smith,
Vice Chair Eberly.
Commissioner Savage,
Commissioner Kraus?
Commissioner Napajoke.
Vice Chair Eberly.
Okay, Commissioner Kraus.
Commissioner Kraus?
Okay. So it is a 3-2 vote and, oh, I'm
You
sorry,
have to vote.
Commissioner Everly. Okay, so we have a 3-2 vote. And so Commissioner Everly is the vice chair for another year. So thank you for your time. And thank you for all of you for saying those wonderful words and supporting your colleagues in this way.
Right. Thank you so much, staff, for running an efficient election. I want to reiterate it again. I believe that every commissioner on this commission brings so much to the table, and we're grateful for each person here. I'd like to move to item number 4. Review and recommend funding allocations for fiscal year 2023-24. Community Development Block Grant and recommended council approval for draft fiscal year 2023 and 24 annual action plan. This will be staff, Commissioner Eberly and Commissioner, I was looking for the other staff. They're down there. Navachoke will go through this. I will do public comment. We will do public comment after staff and commissioners present, and then we'll do commissioner questions. Okay. Vice Chair Eberly? Or who's starting, staff?
I would start with Claire Campbell from the Planning Department, and she will introduce Tina from our consultant firm.
Great.
Hi, Claire.
Thank you so much. Good evening. Congratulations on your vote, everybody. I'm happy to be back here again tonight to kick off the next program year for CDBG. So as you know, I'm Claire Campbell and I'm the manager of long range planning. And I have with me here tonight, Tina Roseberry is our CDBG consultant, and she works with Michael Baker International. So Tina's going to give you a brief presentation, and then we'll be happy to discuss any questions you have for us tonight. So I'll set up the presentation and share my screen. Okay.
Okay, all righty, I'll just get started if that's okay with you, Claire?
Yep.
Okay, again, everyone, thanks for allowing me to be here tonight and give a nice presentation on this part of the agenda. Again, I'm Tina Roseberry, and good evening, HRC committee. And thank you all for your hard work and your attendance tonight. The purpose of the meeting is to provide the city with a final CDBG funding allocation recommendation for fiscal year 2023-24. So we can, Claire has been overseeing the CDBG program for the Department of Planning and Development Services, and I've been working right along with her and the steering committee to come up with this presentation tonight. You can move to the next slide. Okay. So the basics for CDBG.
Can't figure it out.
That's okay. So the basics, so the city of Palo Alto receives funds annually from HUD, which is U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. And the city is an entitlement community, which means they get money every year for their CDBG Community Development Block Grant Program annually. So sometimes the allocation is a little bit more than last year. Sometimes it's a little bit less. So we'll be working towards finding out what that allocation is here in the near future. So the CDBG program provides its entitlements or localities with grants to improve physical conditions, economic conditions, social conditions in those communities. And the activities that Palo Alto are selecting always, the goal of this program is for it to benefit low to moderate income peoples. So all the current subrecipients, there's three, I should take a step back. There are three national objectives that have to be met. Every applicant has to meet, their project has to meet one of the three national objectives: to benefit low and moderate income persons, to aid and prevent like the elimination of slum and blight. And then number three, meeting if there's some kind of urgent need that possibly the city isn't able to fund. You can also fund projects that are really urgent, something that we must take care of right away. However, the projects this year all meet that first national objective, benefiting low to moderate income persons. So as part of the CDBG program, HUD requires the preparation of a 5-year plan. So that was done several years ago, 2020 to 2025. The plan was created for those 5 years. And during that plan, priority needs were developed, goals setting happened, and goals were identified in the plan. So every year, we take a tight look at all the applicants and applications and their activities to make sure that they're consistent with the priority needs and the goals. And that's a big part of, making sure that we're doing the right thing, we're funding the right activities. So the funding recommendations were made, we're looking at them from the staff, and then the HRC selection committee got together and also took a look at the activities and made recommendations for the fiscal year 23 and 24. And we'll be presenting, these activities here tonight. We can move to the next slide. So for the city of Palo Alto, there's 5 goals that were in that consolidated plan. Remember, that was done that covers the years 2020 to 2025. So here's those goals: affordable housing, homelessness, community service and public improvements. And that category encompasses quite a bit: fair housing and economic development. You can move to the next slide. So the CDBG funds, there's essentially like several different funding categories. The public service categories, and I want everyone to be reminded that whatever the allocation is, 15% of that is the cap for public services. So even though some of these social services do such wonderful work in the city, HUD still caps that allocation at 15%. There's a 20% cap for planning administration, and then there's no cap limit on the remainder of the funds that can be spent down on economic development initiatives, public facility initiatives, as well as housing types of projects, or housing rehabs is one of them. So we are estimating for funding year 2023-24, somewhere in the ballpark of about 610,000. So some of this is gained by program income, and then the estimated allocation that's coming into the city for 2023-24 is somewhere around 510,000. So as I said, this is an estimation. I need everyone to remember that, and that the allocation could be a little bit more than that this year, or it could be a little less than that. We can move to the next. Okay. All right, so the agencies that have applied for public service funds, and as I said before, there is a 15% cap. Catholic Charities, and you can see, when you look at this table, if you go from left to right, we thought it might be beneficial for everyone on the HRC committee to see how they were funded. These particular entities were funded in the past. From 2021, 2022, their request for 2023, and then what the actual recommendation is. So through the years, you can kind of see where and at what level we've been funding some of the social services here. So there's Catholic Charities, Life Moves, Silicon Valley Independent Living Center, Project Sentinel, which is our entity that helps us with complaints and issues revolving around fair housing, Alta Housing, and Peninsula Healthcare. So Peninsula Healthcare is a new organization that has applied this year. So when you see the NA, I didn't want to just put zeros there. I just thought you should know that they haven't applied in the past, but they did apply this year, and we were able to select them for some funding this year as well. So that all equals out to 91,500, which is the cap for social services here. We can move. Okay, there we go. So for planning administration, again, there's a 20% cap on that. So you can see where we've come through the years. 21, 22, 23, and all the way up here to what the request and recommendation of the HRC selection committee was. Next slide. Okay, so there's other things that have other types of activities that applicants have applied for. So for economic development, there was an organization, for-profit group, We Care has applied, and we can talk a little bit more about these three projects here as you would like to after the presentation here. Rebuilding Together does housing rehab, and City Public Works, an ADA ramp improvement project. And this will supplement funds for a project that they were intending to put out this year. So this helps get more curb cut type of projects done in the city. So let's move on to the next slide. So as I stated before, sometimes HUD will allocate a little bit more or a little bit less. And if it doesn't reach till 10% of that allocation, if it reaches more than the 10%, we would have to come back and kind of determine where the funding would go to. But if it's less than 10%, the selection committee had said, okay, if there's an increase of funds, let's allocate the funds to Life Moves and its shelter operations. And if there's a decrease in funding, we would like to kind of take a little bit of a reduction from all of our activities, just to kind of make it a little fair on how we're doing that. And everyone would be able to get funded at the level that we're hoping that they would be. Next slide. So a timeline. So far, the selection committee met in December, but prior to that, there was a lot of work done to put out the NOFA and to get our applications and get them all in order for the selection committee that met in December. Here we are today with the Human Relations Commission HRC committee meeting in February. And here in the future, there'll be a public review period from March till April. It's a 30-day review period. City Council will then take a look at this and make their decisions on approving the action plan, as well as its final submission to HUD in June. So this all kind of hinges on HUD being able to provide the allocation in a timely manner, although I try to keep my eyes and ears open to see when that allocation might happen. And I'd say it's expected to happen sometime in April. So all I know is that when the federal government approves the budget, HUD has a certain period of time. I've heard it somewhere 45, 50 days from when HUD gets their allocation from the federal government, and then they will do their calculations and send it to those entitlements. So we've heard that it might happen somewhere in April, and this could, push our timeline a little bit, but this has been conservative and adjusted to that expected April. Next slide. So staff and the HRC, the Human Relations Selection Committee, made final recommendations to HRC as a whole, the whole commission, to take the following actions tonight: to provide funding recommendations for 23-24 Community Development Block Grant Entitlement Program. And number 2, provide direction on the funding contingency plan if the CDBG grant is less than or greater than staff has estimated. And number 3, recommends City Council approve the draft fiscal 23-24 annual action plan. And that was provided in everyone's packet and amended as needed to reflect the HRC as a committee as a whole recommended funding allocations.
Great. Thank you. And that ends our staff presentation for you.
All right. At this time, I want to open up for public comment. I know we have a whole line of people that want to talk, so.
Chair, did you want the 2 committee members to say something, or you wanted that afterwards?
I wanted that afterwards.
Perfect.
Because then they
Okay.
because I think sometimes when you hear public comment, it prompts some
Okay.
thinking.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify.
Do we have any in-person comments?
Let me just have Elena get the screen up, and then I will start to work on this. So if you are a member of the public and you would like to speak to the Human Relations Commission on this item, please raise your virtual hand. I will call on you and you will have 3 minutes to speak. So we'll give a little bit for folks to raise their virtual hand. So I am not seeing any hands, which I find is unusual. So again, if you are a member of the public and you would like to raise your hand, if there is, I'm just wondering. I just find that very unusual for this time. So
Do you see my hand raised?
I see your hand raised and I see Angie's hand raised. So I just wanted to check that. So Angie, I will call on you. Maybe you were just testing it to show that you wanted me to say it, but I will call on you. I just found that unusual and I just didn't want to disenfranchise anybody by thinking that we didn't have any public speakers. So Angie, go ahead, please. You have 3 minutes. Did you want to speak to this item?
I actually didn't need to speak to the item. I just wanted to see if it was working.
I thought that might be the case, Angie, so I appreciate you
Thank
doing
you.
that. So I will lower your hand and I will, okay, so I will give it a third call if there's anybody that, from the public that wishes to speak to the CDBG recommendations. Okay, then we will close the public comment for CDBG.
Right. Commissioner Navachoke. I want to say first, thank you to Commissioner Navachoke because this is her first time doing CDBG. If you've ever done grant review, you know it is one of the most tedious tasks that men have ever created. So thank you for all the work you do, and it's for good cause, though. Commissioners, do you have any comments before we open for discussion among ourselves?
Thank you. I would just say that, as Chair Smith mentioned, Commissioner Navachoke and I did participate in this committee with the CDBG team, with Claire, and we try to be, as fair as possible. And again, as we know from our experience with grants, that these caps, these HUD caps are the biggest obstacle. So we try to be fair in our distributing the money, try to match it as much as we could. But again, there's a delta between the requested funding and what we were able to allocate in the public services, for the public services organizations. Everybody does meaningful, amazing work. And unfortunately, we're just not able to, meet all of their needs. We do what we can. So we're here for any questions that you might have. And Claire too, she's the expert. Thank you. Yes, Commissioner Krause? Or,
I'd love to understand.
The microphone, so they can hear you online.
Oh, I turned it off. There we go.
Okay, thank you.
I'd love to understand, forgive me.
Wait.
I will understand this
That was
better.
actually-
I'd love to talk to you about We Care. Okay, it's a for-profit organization. Why is this an extraordinary for-profit organization? Can you talk to us about what the factors that made this inclusive for CBG?
So I'm glad, I'll start, but then I'll probably have Claire chime in, or Tina, who have with more details. But we were also shocked, both Commissioner Navachoke and I, that was our first question when we were going through it. And apparently it's for economic development, and it's for for-profit organizations only. So the grant is for for-profit organizations that are creating jobs in the community. So We Care is training and creating jobs, and that's how they get the money from HUD. So HUD is trying to stimulate the economy, I guess, but maybe somebody can also, if they have any more information, but that's my recollection. Or Commissioner Navachoke, if you have something else.
No, likewise, that was my understanding. We both had the same question, but I think I would allow Tina or Claire to speak because you guys had a more eloquent definition of why this fit under the specific category.
And what kind of jobs
Well,
are they creating?
well, let's give them a chance, and then we'll come back to the other questions. And then we will start round robin with questions. Claire?
Thank you. I'm going to turn this over to Tina because we've definitely prepared.
Interesting, when they did apply, they've applied in other communities. And so I was curious, and from staff recommendation, I reached out and talked to them individually. And I do that quite a bit with different applicants when I just want to know about their program and activity a little bit more. So HUD, with his CDBG program, a big initiative of HUD's is job creation, particularly for communities, low and moderate income families, and family members who need jobs. So it did create a category for funding that doesn't have a cap, economic development. And We Care is basically a business that helps other businesses. So they're basically on the hook for several years after they're funded to make sure that they are creating jobs within the We Care Corporation. So, but what they do is this activity that they've applied for is, and you can go home tonight and Google We Care, and it is a platform. It's a company that created this platform where interested families who need daycare can go on there and try to search and find daycare. And then all the daycares that are signed up for this platform for We Care, they then can be matched with daycares that have openings in you check those boxes in those areas where is most preferable for them to have daycare. So it's trying to match those up. And then also they applied for this funding to help out childcare businesses in Palo Alto. So a variety in their application, they said 19 have been on the wait list for We Care. So they'll choose, those that have on the wait list to be a part of We Care first. And what they'll do is basically come in and help them with, they have a software program called Boost, and that helps them out with growing their business, fiscal management, increasing their capacity in terms of enrollment and staffing, and potentially, facility improvements. And if they're looking for staffing, We Care helps them look for staffing for their daycares. And so this is just basically one business helping out other businesses. So if I could answer, I guess, any specific questions related, if I haven't covered it correctly. And I think I saw that there's somebody from We Care that has joined this call as well.
And I'd just like to add one more note to that. I think just to be clear that the funding for this project is to go for We Care for them to add additional staffing to their operations so they can then go out and help these daycare facilities. If that wasn't clear before.
Yeah.
It looks like it's a marketing. Well, I just went on the website, so this is preliminary. It looks like it is a directory with some marketing back-end management support for the business, which is good, particularly considering my son goes to an operation like this where they're busy watching the kids all day. So some of the background stuff you just can't do. The challenge is that anytime you do any kind of software, let's say they decide to go with We Care year 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. What is you said it's to build jobs. What is the long-term economic responsibility of a small business to fund this? Because I don't want us to start, one of the challenges I see with some programs is we start the support, but then after a while, the support stops and the business can no longer support the financial outlay.
Well, I mean, I think that's the goal of what they're trying to do here is help them for the first by signing them up for this, and then the goal is getting them in a place where they are improving their business practices, their facilities, their relations with parents, that they weren't doing successfully before. So, and they're not choosing, from what I know, they're not choosing and knocking on family daycare doors. These are families, these are daycares that are signed up to want to be a part of We Care and can't afford it. So they're kind of on the wait list to be a part of this because they want more families, and they want families to be matched up with their facility through We Care.
Okay, and commissioners, any other questions? Commissioner Kraus?
Can you clarify a few things? Since HUD has an objective to add jobs at the lower end of the scale, they're very excited about organizations like We Care. But what kind of jobs are they facilitating? Are they training young childcare workers? I'm a little confused of how these qualify and how this is part of the program. So could you explain a little bit further?
I can explain probably a little bit. There is somebody here that we might want to ask more questions to from We Care, but so if they receive CDBG funding, they must increase their jobs. And from the telephone conversation I had, the people that they would be hiring would be assisting family daycares, family childcare organizations, businesses in helping them learn the software, helping them promote their business, helping them learn all about the We Care portal, the parent portal, and a variety of. I'm not quite sure what all they would be doing, but those are some of the things that those people that they would be hiring would be going out into the community to those businesses and helping them.
If I may, I think by reading from their application, they're hiring people to go into these basically home daycares and helping them on board onto their system and, allow them to get onto the system where there is a wait list.
Mhm.
And the system helps them with paying the wages for the workers, collecting tuition,
Okay,
uh,
so it's back end.
curriculum, yes.
Exactly.
And then that allows the daycare
Yeah.
to, to grow and then hire more people. I think that's what's going on here.
Okay, let's do this. I would like, so I have one question, which I don't think is fair to ask until, I'll ask the question, we'll answer the question, then we can have somebody from We Care. If you can clear, just let Minka know who that person is. Is it Jessa? Is that Jessa? Is that the person from We Care?
That's the person I spoke with on the phone. Her first name is Jessa.
Okay, she has her hand up, so we'll bring her in because I think we need to have that kind of conversation. All right. I noticed we have $139,000 that was allocated to Downtown Street Team in the 23-24 request, and there is not allocated ask for. There's zero. I know the organization does not qualify as a CBDO. Requested funding cannot be supported. I know somebody in public comment is going to say Downtown Street Teams has a lot of fans in Palo Alto. So for us to go a for-profit entity and not do them, I just need to know what the justification is there.
So I can speak to one point for that. Because they're not a CBDO anymore, they
What's a CBDO for the layman?
It is a community business development organization.
Okay.
And you need to have that classification in order for this particular group and their organization for them to get the kind of funding in the economic development category, because it's not capped. Because if you go back to what we were saying earlier, the CDBG public services is only capped at 91,000. So Downtown Streets actually submitted an application for $278,000. That was their request. And we've been able to fund them in many previous years because they did qualify as a CBDO, and we could give them much larger amounts of funds because there was no cap. But things have changed over the last about year and a half or so with downtown streets. And I can add a little bit more to this. You know, the city of Palo Alto, when they lost their status, the city, you know, through a council action, decided to fund their program for this current year that we're in today. So for 22-23, so they're getting funding directly from the city. And because they're not they don't qualify for such a large amount of funding for this current for this program year that we're looking at today in the packet. You know, the city is looking to try to work again with them and go back to city council to find some alternative approach to funding their program.
Okay, so basically, the challenge is around their distinction in the nonprofit service provider realm. They don't qualify. In other words, they just don't qualify.
They don't.
Okay, all right. Staff, I will ask if we can pull Jessa Santangelo up and have her explain to us exactly what are the community development advantages to We Care and how does it benefit the small business? Those were your questions, Commissioner Krause?
And moreover, the specificity on the increase of jobs.
Speak in the mic so she can hear you.
The increase of jobs, that's what I'd like to address, is the specificity. Are the jobs coming from going in and training people to use their system, and subsequently they're hiring more people at the local childcare, or what? Because I know HUD is pretty specific right now in the range of programs they have allocations for. And I just want to understand how they're adding jobs.
G. Cron has permission to speak. There she is.
Hello, everyone. Thanks so much. Definitely would love to add some clarity around that. So the very first thing I wanted to touch on is the job creation, that LMJ job creation. I'm going to explain it first from the provider's perspective, the child care provider, those 19 child care providers that are located in City Palo Alto. Most of these child care providers are themselves LMI individuals and struggling to earn a livable wage. In the state of
Jessa,
yeah?
The acronyms, we are not in the child care space, so we don't know what LMI and LJM mean. So if you
sorry, that's for CDBG, low to moderate income, and then low to moderate job. I apologize about that. I'll be careful with acronyms, though. I'm working on that. So in the state of California, an in-home daycare provider is licensed for either 8 or 14 normally. And when they're licensed for 8, even for a small daycare, I'll use that as the first example. They will have, let's say, up to 4 enrollments of children before that they would have to hire a staff or teacher assistant to help them to maintain safe licensing ratios. So if they get a call for a 5th enrollment from a family, they would have to hire a teacher assistant. However, at 4 enrollments, they're currently not earning a sustainable living. In fact, in City of Palo Alto, the average earning of a child care provider is $38,000 in a year. So they feel stuck. They'll actually turn away that family, even though they need that 5th, 6th, 7th family to help them really with economic mobility. So the way that we are helping these child care providers and the jobs that are being created are those teacher assistants that are created in those actual businesses. The way that we do this is not only do we help remove all the busy work from their life, as you all touched on and did a wonderful job of explaining the back end work, but we also to help pair them up with their enrollments so they all start at the same time. They can actually afford that teacher assistant, or we help even bridge that cost. So let's say the 5th enrollment, we're covering the teacher assistant costs at a certain percentage. Then their 6th enrollment, maybe now they're taking on 50% of it, and we actually tier to help them. Once they're at full capacity at a small license of 8 children, then we help them to expand their license to 14 and create additional teacher staffing jobs as well. So that is the job creation component. Hopefully that answered that.
That was really helpful. Commissioner Krause?
No, I'm fine. I'm still not quite satisfied, but I'd love to see your numbers at some point to see what percentage you're covering of the new childcare actor who is hired.
Mhm.
You know, is it the lion's share? Are you just passing through funds? I'm sorry I'm being a tough one on this, but I want to understand desperately how you're adding jobs and what these jobs will do over time.
And I appreciate that. I think it's important that we understand it and you understand it and feel confident. For the sake of time, what I'd love to do is maybe set up some time to actually go through the numbers. We've done a whole childcare needs assessment, feasibility report, and we can also do a demo and walk you through the entire program so you can have a really in-depth understanding of it and really feel confident in that decision.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jessup. Claire? We have one more round of public comment, right? With CDBG after we do the motion tonight, right?
Yes, there's a formal comment period where there's a 30-day comment period because we're going to have the draft annual action plan posted. It's actually on the web right now, but we'll have a formal comment period where anyone can take a look at the document and provide comments. And then we will be taking those comments and moving forward to the city council.
Okay. All right. All right. Then we have to take a vote tonight. All right. Do we have any other comments from commissioners? All right. I will staff, I would like to ask our esteemed new council member. I feel really grateful to say that as for the first time in a city capacity. So our new council member, who is our liaison, Julie Lithgop-Haynes. Do you have anything to say, add, or just say to the commission? I know you have a busy schedule and some other travel things to do this evening, so we just wanted to get you on for a second.
Well, thank you so much for the welcome. I am delighted to have been assigned as the council liaison to the HRC. This was my hope and my wish, and I was really delighted that Mayor Koo was able to match me with you. I ran for council because I believe in the things the HRC believes in. And I'm very excited to come up to speed, to learn about what you've got on your docket, what you're dealing with. I want to be helpful. I want to listen and learn and then serve alongside you. So I think I'm here right now just to thank you for all of your important, necessary, thoughtful work on behalf of the city and all of its residents, particularly its most vulnerable residents. Together, I know that we can do even more to ensure that our city is one where humans from all walks of life can really thrive. So I salute you, I appreciate you, and I'm really looking forward to working with you. And I'll turn it back over to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you so much, council member. All right. I would like to advance a motion. What was that you just moved down?
That was something I had copied from a last year's meeting.
What
just
was
to-
that?
in
It
case
looked
I-
like, it actually looked right. That's the only reason I
Okay.
asked. Yeah, I was about to say it was
I
all,
will-
I was
I
gonna say
will-
it was a lot of time.
Move it back up.
You could just move point one away. Because they already have a contingency built in this year's plan. I move and second that the HRC recommends the city council approve the draft as amended as needed. Can we please remove amended as needed to reflect the HRC recommended? We don't need to amend anything. Okay. That's my motion. I'll read it for everybody. Chair Smith has moved, and hopefully somebody seconds it, that the HRC recommends city council approve the draft fiscal 2023-24 annual plan. And is it attachment C, clear? Just want to make sure. Or is it attachment?
Yes, that's correct. Attachment C. And then, Chair, could you also just clarify or put on the record that you're accepting the HRC selection committee's contingency plan for if we get less or more funding? That would be helpful.
I assume that was part of attachment C. Where is it specifically in your document?
Oh, it's in the staff recommendation on the staff report, in the beginning of the staff report.
Okay, because I read it, I assumed it was just part of the thing. I saw it. I read it, 10%, and then over 10%, it comes back to us. Yes, and accepts HRC subcommittee's recommendation on contingency funding. Is that the correct language?
On the contingency plan for funding.
On contingency plan for funding. I think that passes the look test. All right. Do we have a second? Vice Chair Everly seconds it. We're going to vote now after staff gets it in place. I just wanted, before we continue, just say thank you to Claire and Tina and to the commissioners. Grant management from either side, whether you're the grant, whether you're applying for the grant or you're managing the grant with the federal government or any government, is very difficult work. So we thank you for the work to the community. We'll open voting. We will start on my right-hand side. Commissioner Eberly, Vice Chair Eberly.
Aye.
Commissioner Navachoke,
Aye.
Commissioner Savage,
Aye.
Commissioner Kraus. Chair Smith, aye. We have a vote of 4-1 on the CDBG plan. Thank you. All right. Claire, Tina, thank you again. We have renters next, right? Huh? Okay. Can we take a 5-minute break? Because I think we're going to be here for a while for that one. So I'm going to give commissioners 5 minutes to stand, stretch, use bathroom, because I think we're not going home early tonight. All right, let's go. We go. Okay, we are at point number 4. Trying to find the right paper. Yeah, I mixed the whole pack up. Agenda item 5, continued discussion of the recommendations from the ad hoc committee in response to city council referral to the commission on ways to improve the implementation of the current city renters protection. We will have Vice Chair Adriana Eberly and Commissioner Dr. Michelle Kraus give us their presentation on this. After the present, does staff have any comments on this, or do we go straight to public comment?
I would say that, I mean, the normal practice I would do is that the commissioners would give their presentation. The other commissioners would ask questions, then go to the public. And then when it comes time to wordsmith or do things with the recommendations, that happens after public comment.
All right, I'm going to just flip the order. I'll have public comment then we will do our question answer period. All right, I know that you've worked very hard on this. This looks very different than the last one. So we will, Vice Chair and Commissioner, please do the presentation.
Commissioner Kraus is going to start and then jump over to me.
All right. Can you hear me now? Okay. We have picked up the gauntlet in responding to City Council. This is a discussion that's been ongoing since 2018, when there was a need for an emergency ordinance because of a mass eviction from a moderately priced property. We're taking into effect all of the work that has gone before, and particularly the colleagues' memo, which has been part of the hallmark of the work from 2018 forward, that was written by former council member Dubois and current Mayor Koo. We've done extensive research. We've read the Bigelow papers. We've gone through city statutes. And we come to you today with some clearly articulated recommendations. We really want to emphasize that we want council to move forward with more staffing and more funding, because this has been an issue. And when we're looking at surrounding cities, both myself and Commissioner Everly were absolutely amazed at the progress that other cities in the peninsula have made and the kinds of resources that have been dedicated. So, and in addition to that, just knowing that the current White House has issued a mandate, again involving HUD and many other agencies together, concerning themselves with the rights of renters. Because like Palo Alto, the amount of renters nationally is 1/3 of the US population. It is over 44 million people. And at this point in Palo Alto, it's growing, and it's growing steadily. And I predict another year or two will be over 50%. So we have to pay attention to the kinds of recommendations we're articulating in the following 6.
Commissioner Kraus, did you want Elena to have it on the screen or do you want that
I
later?
would like that the 6 and 8 recommendations on the screen
Okay, thank you.
so that people can see them. Uh, Commissioner Everly will take the first 4. I will chime in on the last 4.
Yeah, thank
And
you.
we'll go forward. And please comment if you have comments on mine. Okay.
So I'll start then with our recommendations. So last time we were here in November and we gave our presentation, there was some critique about our recommendations, that they were not specific enough. So we went back, Minka helped us, we did some more research, we talked to Mountain View, we talked to Project Sentinel, we looked at more ordinances, and we came up with, and we looked at our report again and came up with new recommendations. So number 1 is council to direct PAMP, which is the Palo Alto Mediation Program, and Project Sentinel to increase community outreach regarding the availability of the non-binding Palo Alto Mediation Program. Although the program is highly effective for landlord-tenant dispute resolution, it could benefit from greater community awareness. The HRC recommends that PAMP and Project Sentinel set up information sessions at the city libraries periodically, and that staff update local online communities, particularly on Nextdoor. Now, Mountain View has been doing this. They have nights at libraries where they don't just have housing, but they have maybe food vouchers, medical, lots of services come together and people know that they can go to the library and get help. So we believe that since it's been successful there, that we should maybe think about implementing it here. And one complaint that we continuously hear is that people just don't know it exists. I know that Project Sentinel does outreach, and I know that PAMP does outreach as well, but I think we need to do more and raise their voices in the community. Number 2, council to direct staff to explore ways to ensure that all rental leases issued to renters in the city of Palo Alto include the city's mandatory response clause. Now, we are in a period of flux because there's a landlord registry program going on right now, but there's a rental survey program that's coming up soon and is going to probably replace the landlord registry. So we decided to word number 2 this way because we know that there are changes coming. Number 3, council authorizes that the proposed rental survey program move aggressively forward with the necessary funding and staffing. This is something that's been in the works, and we believe that it needs to move more aggressively. It needs to move faster, and it needs to be in effect, as soon as possible. Number 4, council to direct staff to expand outreach and consider penalties for landlords who fail to register all their properties. These penalties can be affected by an amendment of the city's mandatory response clause ordinance or as part of the new rental survey program. Again, because we are in flux right now, we are giving them options, but we're trying to be specific enough so that city council knows that they have to do something about it. One of the complaints that we heard is that there's no punishment. If the landlord doesn't register, nothing happens to them. So we do believe that penalties need to exist in those cases. Now I'm going to pass it over to Commissioner Kraus for the last ones. Thank you.
Thank you. And we really talked about and pondered the notion of penalties for non-compliance. And we chose to not move forward with that until the survey is formalized. And we really spent a lot of thought about this. So on number 5, we're asking council to patch the gaps left by California state law, AB 14824, number 1, to cover renters who have lived in their units less than 1 year, and 2, to include eviction protection to units that are single-family homes not owned by corporations. Number 6, we are asking council to specifically expand the citywide relocation assistance to multi-unit buildings with less than 10 units, not owned by corporations. We've excluded duplexes where they are 1 unit is owned and occupied by the owner. So we're hoping to be able to reach across the breadth of buildings, regardless of size. So there are protections that have already been passed by the city cover these groups. Number 7, we recommend that council proceed with a fair chance ordinance. The HRC agrees with the planning PTC in limiting landlords' ability to inquire about an applicant's criminal history and development of a fair chance ordinance. At this point, we know that Berkeley and Oakland are considered best practice ordinances. We know that no one on the peninsula or in Silicon Valley has addressed these issues, and we recommend that we take a move forward because we are the leader of Silicon Valley. Number 8, we recommend the implementation of proactive rental inspection programs. These are powerful renter protection tools and are being explored in neighboring jurisdictions. They are a means to protecting renters. The proactive rental inspection program would mean that inspectors were routinely visiting the entire rental housing inventory, and specifically to assure that all units are safe and legal for all residents, whether they be market rate tenants, seniors, or the disabled. And we're open for questions.
Thank you so much. I gotta hit my button. Thank you so much. This time we will open for public comment. Question, do we have people in the room that want to make public comment?
Before we do that, can I just say, on number 5, it actually should be AB 1482. We have an extra 4 there. That should be
Okay.
deleted.
Okay.
How many, do we have hands up online?
We have at this point 4 hands online. So how we usually like to do is we like to have someone in person and then online. So
Okay.
we can go.
So we will start, I assume Mr. Wood is in here. And then we will go to Mrs. Angie Evans.
So
Ms. Angie.
we can actually, Elena, did you give the chair the cards? Because he will call the cards. This is the first time we've had people in public in 3 years. So just give us a moment to get back to our cycle. So we'll start with Angie and then we'll go to the gentleman
No.
at the podium or vice versa.
Vice versa.
Okay,
Okay,
so go
So-
ahead, sir. You'll have 3 minutes.
okay, I'm Marcus Wood, as you probably know, and I'm a little old school. I wrote it on a piece of paper. As I listen and read about the proposed rental program, I'm at a loss to understand its purpose. The program seems to be based on anecdotes about certain landlord transgressions. Allegedly, the program will cover a large percentage of the population who rent. It will create a database of rental properties in the city, cap security deposits, and expand relocation assistance. Other ideas include, I haven't heard it today, but I've read it in the past, anti-gouging policies, restrictions on landlords, investigations of potential tenant criminal records. That one we'll say is so-so. None of these policies will create more rental units or lower apartment rents, and all are likely to discourage both construction of new units and renting of vacant residences. Instead, these policies are a burden to landlords with higher costs to evict bad tenants. We can talk about that one offline, to maintain their properties and to report to a growing city bureaucracy. The policies advocated imply that landlords are gouging or somehow taking advantage of tenants. This simply is not happening on a large scale. Landlords like to keep paying tenants. Large security deposits, huge rent increases, or not maintaining the property are not a recipe for landlord success. The competition among landlords is due to the current high vacancy in Palo Alto and adjacent cities. Contrary to the policies being discussed, low-income renters are a minor issue. 15% of our rental units are below market rental units, which are controlled by the Palo Alto Housing Corp. These units don't need an additional layer of protection from the city. The rental caps and the security deposits discussed already exist through the state of California rent control law. State law does not allow for evictions to, does allow for the conviction to renovate apartments. This is how we constantly improve the housing stock and ensure that others will be able to invest in apartments in Palo Alto. The entire issue seems like a solution in search of a problem. I'd like to suggest that the goal would be to improve and enlarge the housing stock to the benefit of the general population. The policies being discussed are counterproductive to this goal. Instead, these policies will raise costs, discourage investment, and help a very small percentage of the current rental population. And listening tonight on the 8 recommendations, you're going down to a single family house. So if I go away for a year, I'm not going to rent my house. So that's not going to help anybody. Penalties for those who do not register.
Thank you so much, Mr. Wood.
Am I past my 3 minutes? Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you for your time.
You can tell how I feel.
Thank
Thank you.
Ms. Evans?
Hold on.
Thank you very much. I'm Angie Evans. I'm one of the co-founders of Palo Alto Renters Association. I'm also a little bit old school. I helped to pass Mountain View's rent control measure, which this is not. But more importantly, Mountain View's rent control measure really proved that renter protections are not in conflict with increasing the supply of housing. Their housing department will show that. So I want to say thank you for continuing to move these critical policies forward in order to improve the lives of renters in Palo Alto. I also want to speak to the role we play at the Renters Association in supporting tenants in Palo Alto and our appreciation of PAMP and Project Sentinel. We don't actually have a partnership with them. We know that they provide an important service, though. They cannot, however, provide legal or policy advice in most tenant situations. They're really meant to provide what Palo Alto's policies allow for, which is mandatory non-binding mediation. When tenants come to the Renters Association, which was at least 80 tenants last year, we usually get about 2 to 3 a week this year. We work with lawyers to review potential illegal eviction cases. We help ensure that they're within their legal rights to push back. And then when we see that a tenant and landlord would benefit from talking through mediation, we refer them to the Palo Alto mediation program. So we're really happy and appreciative that they are just a critical part of the fabric of Palo Alto's renter support system. However, it's not enough. None of these can really be implemented. None of these great policies that were outlined can really be implemented without a robust rent registry, which has taken literally years to implement. I look forward to these policies moving a little more swiftly in the future with, as you all mentioned, potentially more staff and resources, those that they need. I would prefer that they cover more housing types. It's easier to implement these kinds of policies for tenants to understand and for landlords to understand their rights if we have more blanket policies. But I recognize that these represent a compromise. The last thing I want to say is, this is all to say that I am very glad to see them moving forward. But every couple of months, including today, at school pickup, I talked to another family who just painted their kid's room or put in a trampoline or did something to really settle their life in Palo Alto. And then their landlord sells the home and evicts them in a very swift period. And it doesn't have to be this way. And I hope to see these policies move very quickly in order to change that. Okay, thank you very much.
Is there anybody else in the room?
Do you have a second card, Chair?
No, I don't.
Okay, so then we will go on to
To
number 3.
Anil Barber.
Anil Barber. Anil, go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Good evening, Chair and committee members. Anil Babur with the California Apartment Association. I wanted to speak today to talk on some of the issues you're evaluating tonight. I want to start with applauding the city for increasing their efforts to increase the awareness of non-binding mediation. Providing a space for communication is important for resolving disputes. And however, the remainder of the proposals you are looking at, as was mentioned earlier, are bureaucratic solutions looking for a problem. The rent registry to start is an expensive endeavor to develop and maintain, expensive to ensure compliance, and its long-term goal of seeking data on rents in the city can already be achieved freely or at very little cost through existing data sources, whether it be the U.S. Census, CoStar, etc. You don't need a rent registry to get the data on the city's rent levels. Expansion of 1482. 1482 was accomplished through a compromise that took many, many months to achieve. It is the right solution. It was well vetted, and it doesn't need to be relitigated by opening it up. 1482 is a statewide standard, and we should applaud that. It brought all sides to the table. It was supported by the tenants groups, and we should maintain 1482 as the law of the land and not go beyond it. Relocation expansion. You're trying to expand relocation requirements for mom and pop owners. These are people that have been battered through the pandemic crisis. They have debts owed by tenants in the thousands, if not hundreds of thousands. And we're asking them to pay even more money to relocate tenants. This is, again, not a necessity. This is undue burden on small mom and pop owners. And I think that this whole suite of policies you're proposing need to be reevaluated in light of the impacts you're going to have, not just on tenants, but on the owners as well. Property owners have been as badly affected by the pandemic as anyone else in terms of rental housing. And we need to take a moment and understand how all sides are being impacted by these policies. Thank you.
Thank you, Anil. The next person to speak is Matthew Reed. Matthew, go ahead, please. You have 3 minutes.
Great, thank you so much. Good evening, commissioners. I really want to thank the commission for your engagement on this. My name is Matthew Reed. I'm the director of policy at Silicon Valley at Home. It was a robust discussion. I believe it was in November, and I'm glad to see the continued discussion this evening. I think the recommendations are thoughtful and valuable, and are in support of them. We had the honor of working in partnership with city staff and with Ms. Bigelow through the Partnership for the Bay's Future and in putting together some of these proposals. Really excited to see the way that they moved through the city process, got to council, and appreciate this body's effort to keep them moving. I'd just like to share how important the work has been, because the Palo Alto process we've shared, others have shared with cities throughout the county and the region, as they've looked at solutions to include in their housing elements. And it's been highly influential that Palo Alto has been taking these steps, and we appreciate your ongoing support. I want to draw attention to the recommendation number 3 regarding moving forward in a timely way with the rent registry. I believe this is coming back to Policy and Services Committee. I think it's next week. And they had a lot to cover the last time, and they have some new folks on the committee, and it would be helpful, I think, for them to get a little more direction from this body. So I would ask if you would be willing to refine your recommendation to address one piece of detail. And that is to ensure that eviction notices, known as unlawful detainers, which are filed with the court, are included in the information reported in the rent registry. This is standard practice for peer cities with rental registries. It's a critical piece of information. It's simple to include, and it will ensure that the rent registry collects information that is reasonably collected and that is really valuable for the city to assess what is happening to renters in Palo Alto. Just for context, most evictions are related to back rent. This isn't about bad landlords. It's about understanding what's happening to people. But most are invisible. The landlord says you need to pay or move. Most move. That's the real experience. A small number of these households receive unlawful detainer notices, which is an eviction notice. They haven't paid, they haven't moved, the landlord files with the court. Knowing how many of those there are and what the reason for those unlawful detainers is really an essential piece of information, because only 10 or 20% actually have a court-ordered eviction, and those unlawful detainers really are the piece that tells the story.
Thank you so much, Mr. Reed.
Thank you, Matthew. The next speaker is Kat Snyder. Kat, you have 3 minutes. Go ahead, please.
Hi, I actually have a question for later, probably, about the renter protection. Since the climate work plan item, we're going to be interviewing renters to see how they're affected by climate change. And so since y'all are now experts on renter protections, we'd love to get your input on some of these issues, what's on the books, what might be on the books soon. So I'm going to bring up like one common issue that's seen across the nation, and it may or may not apply to Palo Alto. But in terms of climate change, there's things like there's these split incentives between property owners and tenants. So owners often have to pay for improvements like tightening the building envelope weatherization, getting more energy efficient appliances, or switching from gas to electric. But the tenants are the ones that have to pay for the utility. So they're oftentimes the ones who would be receiving the benefit. So why would the owner want to have to pay something that they're not receiving the benefit for? And so oftentimes the property owners, they defer maintenance for a really long time. And if they do actually make improvements, they oftentimes evict people afterwards so that they can, they can rent it out for a lot more money. So that's something that we're going to have to tackle while we're interviewing folks. And so I just love to, if you all have figured out anything during your research on this issue, I'd love to hear about it. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Kat.
Oh, I'm sorry, Chair.
We are at Miana Young.
We have 2 more speakers. Mina Young, you have 3 minutes. Go ahead, and I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name.
Hi, this is Mina Young. I'm a single family homeowner, and I have a son who works in the Silicon Valley who is renting. And I'm worried that with these regulations, it would get more difficult for my son to find a rental place because the owners mostly are single family houses in Palo Alto. They're going to be unlikely to go through the trouble and the risks of having to study all these regulations that are difficult to follow, and a lot of them are elderly or disabled. And when they got the house, it was low income. I mean, they worked really hard. Nowadays, the prices going up, but doesn't mean they have the cash. So they cannot afford to hire lawyers or counsel to help them to follow every dot of the regulation. And so that's going to be a trap for them legally. And we know in other places, tenants tend to gouge owners for every little thing. And that's why the rent is going up, and a lot of owners are leaving the market because they just don't want to go through the risk of having nervous breakdown and all the legal fees to have to deal with these all regulations. So please stop making it more difficult if you want more housing, because everywhere you see, you go to San Francisco, I looked at the census data, you can see how many units were built in different years. And the decades that have been since 1979, when rent control started in San Francisco, you see that the number of houses built are less, 1/3 less than before 1979, when the population was growing. So rent control hurts housing and hurts the renters. So please do not add any more regulations. Please make it easier for the owners to rent it out, so there will be more supply for housing. Thank you.
Thank you. Our last speaker is PS Internal Account. Go ahead, please.
Hello there to the city council members of Palo Alto. This is Carol Kahn, and I apologize. My screensaver says Project Sentinel. I'm the executive director of Project Sentinel. I did want to comment on and thank the council for their research and in-depth work on these issues. I will speak to the Palo Alto Mediation Program, which we assist with administering in terms of the outreach. We are coming back from some times when we had staffing instability at Project Sentinel, and now are much better on course with our outreach. We have a playbook plan for every quarter, exactly everything we're doing, from online, digital, and social media ads to disseminating information via email blasts and through the city. And then, of course, we've done brochure drops at all the libraries in Palo Alto, including brochure drops at other apartment complexes. That said, there's always more we can do. We appreciate very much the recommendation to hold a clinic or an otherwise standing session at the library. We will absolutely incorporate that. We've also been at farmers markets and other community events. I did want to offer perhaps one friendly amendment or an idea for consideration, which is to think about requiring that landlords include a mediation clause in their leases. In this sense, it may help to de-escalate what tensions by having this be a first step, if you will, in looking to remedy any kinds of disputes or conflicts through, again, talented mediators who help parties better understand their situation and come to resolution. So I offer that up as another vehicle by which it could become much, much better known, much, much quicker to both renters and landlords, housing providers alike, that mediation is absolutely a bona fide step in preserving the housing and preserving a paying tenant for a housing provider. Thank you.
Yes, I'm Nina Homer. I don't have a rental house in Palo Alto, but I'm interested in that topic. grown up in the communist controlled place in China, they use people's name to do bad things, government. So, actually the people really get taken care of in the capitalist country, such like United States. So I hope city of the Palo Alto will not turn our city to the Communist Party run the country. So that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Nina.
I want to thank everybody for their passionate responses. Commissioners, we are going to start with round robin questions. We had Commissioner Eberly and Commissioner Kraus working on it. So we will start with Commissioner Navachoke, then we will go to Commissioner Savage, then myself, and we could see where we end up there if we are at a motion or we need to have some more discussion. And each commissioner gets 5 minutes, please.
Okay, thank you very much for everyone's comments and for your presentation as well and your in-depth research to this topic. At this moment, I think that we need more discussion instead of a motion. And I don't have a particular question, but I kind of want to start the discussion and just hear what everyone else has to say. And then I might be inspired to come up with something, but I don't have a question at the moment.
Thank you. Commissioner Savage.
Yeah, well, this is a very specific and a tremendous amount of work went into this, I can see. And its purpose is for the protection of renters and landlords. I get it. But I do understand some of the concerns of the speakers. It's additional red tape. And I have a few questions about how these will be implemented. In number 4, where you're talking about consider penalties for landlords who fail to register. I don't know how you would find those who fail to register. I think that's an insurmountable task. And number 8, where you'll have inspectors for the rental program. And I think I had brought this up at an earlier meeting. What kind of qualifications are you looking for in these inspectors? And isn't it just their opinion if something isn't safe or doesn't look right? I just think there's a lot more that needs to go into this before anything can move forward.
Any questions on it or anything else on it? Anything else on the, okay. All right. I want to thank the commissioners. I have a couple of thoughts, couple of things. Can we start timer for the time? The first is, why is staff required to, and point number 1, why is staff required to update local online communities? I believe that PAMP and Project Sentinel are contracted to the city to do the job. So I think staff can pair with them, but I think once you have a contract, it's your job to figure out how to get it out. I do want us to also talk about, I love what you said about the community outreach in Mountain View. I don't know how we add that to it, but okay. I don't know how we codify that, but I think you're onto something here because I've lived in my apartment in Palo Alto for about 6 years now. And the only reason I know about PAMP and Project Sentinel is because I serve on this board. So I think there needs to be a more general thing. I'm on Nextdoor all the time. I don't see anything social media. I've seen the renters group more than I've seen PAMP. So, okay. Number 2, I'm confused with number 5. I'm confused with number 5. I'm not sure what one covers renters from. What does it mean by covers renters who lived in their units? What is it covering them from? I'm not sure. So when I read the language, it says California State Law AB 1482. It says one covers renters who have lived in their units less than 1 year. I don't know what that is. I mean, you're very clear on some of the other ones, and I don't know, include eviction protections to units that are single-family homes not owned. What eviction, I haven't done the study, so I don't know what those are. I saw that I have one challenge around, numbers. You did address it since the last time. So there seems to be a gap, here. It says in number 6, council to expand citywide relocation assistance to multi-unit buildings with less than 10 units not owned by corporations. So, and then it says not including duplexes where 1 unit is owner occupied. So you're basically saying owner occupied is the distinction?
A duplex where one of the units is owner occupied, but not qualified. This is a concern that I had last time we talked about this in
Yes.
November. Because if you own the if you own the property and you're renting out, I did not want to,
What if a homeowner rents out a basement and I'm from New York, so I'm going to use New York terms. Basement and upstairs, or they have 3 units and it's a 1 person. Is there any way that we can talk about owner occupied being the threshold and not duplex?
that's something we can discuss. What we are proposing is a duplex where 1 unit is owner occupied. I'm curious to how many houses have basements in Palo Alto.
I don't think they do. And that's why I said that's why I codified it by very clearly saying, I know this is a New York thing. If we have basements in Palo Alto, they're all flooded right now. So I don't know. Let me see, is there anything else that I missed?
Well, we can start responding maybe, because I'm going to forget all the points that people
Okay.
made.
Yeah.
So you can start right there.
I'm going to, first I wanted to respond to Carol Khan's comment, and the mandatory response clause, which is already part of the city ordinance, does include mediation on the clause. So it's not something we can have to change. It already says that on the ordinance. How do we find out who failed to register? I think the city can have on its website a location where renters can go and see if their landlord is registered or not. And if they are not, then they can submit something to the city saying that they're not registered. And then the city can investigate it. That's just one idea that I came up with right now. So we need a place where they can check and then be able to say that they're not.
Can I say one thing? We are not we don't have to figure out the actual process. We just have to make the recommendation. Staff figures out process. So one of the straw men I want to take care of tonight is saying, like, I'm not an administrator for a city, so I'm not going to figure out every nook and cranny. I'm going to make the recommendation. Council will tell staff to go figure it out. So I just wanted to say that.
Okay. On number 1, I think when we said staff, we meant Project Sentinel and Palo Alto Mediation Program. Well, it's really Project Sentinel. They have the staff. Palo Alto Mediation Program is volunteers. Number 5.
Can I say, respond to
Go
that?
ahead.
So can we state that clearly?
Yes.
Because in city language, when we say staff, it always, anytime we say staff, if council gets it, they're going to default to think it's city staff.
Yes, of course, we're gonna, we can edit these recommendations after everybody's input.
Okay.
Yeah, I think for that one, it would be council to direct staff to be in communication with Project Sentinel, because the council does not have direct authority over the contractors. They would ask the contract manager to do so.
Right.
And just another thing for these, because I think, you know, it sounds like Carol loves the idea. Just a reminder to the commission that you make policy recommendations, but the operational, how it's played out falls to the city staff. So if in this recommendation, if you want to put your values or parameters bound there, in order that a greater number of people, or in order that a certain demographic learns about it, like language or area of the city. And we will know because of this discussion that you have this really interesting idea of doing it for the library, but that shouldn't be in the recommendation because that's more operational. But you put the values behind, like the parameters of what you'd like to see and the expectations, and then it'll be staff's job to make it operational. But it's very helpful to know what your expectations are and your ideas are, because, you know, you have thought of things that other people may not have thought of.
Now, and I also wanted to just address the AB 1482 questions. So remember, this is a council referral, and AB 1482 allows for statewide tenant protections, including limits on rent increase, protections from evictions without cause, and relocation fees for no-fault evictions. But it does not apply to people who have been renting less than 1 year. Okay, or for single-family homes not owned by a corporation. And they asked us to decide whether we should, you know, expand it or not. And we think that these are fair. Remember, these are no-fault evictions.
Yes.
Not because people stopped paying rent or because people are trashing the house. So this is a limited.
Because you're saying landlords have recourses. This is not a blanket thing. Landlord have recourses if somebody trashes their property or doesn't pay their
Right.
rent.
Yes, that's a
Okay.
nicer way to put it. Yes.
We still live in America. Okay.
And Ms. Krause, would you like to, Commissioner Krause, I'm sorry, to comment on
It's Dr.
anything
Krause.
else
Let's get
and
it
on
right.
8?
It's Dr. Krause.
Just the specificity on number 5 encompasses what we were given and what is covered by 1482, and then the carve-outs. These are the 2 carve-outs that we thought the council should pay attention to.
So this is my, I still have one significant challenge, and you guys have to help me with this one. Number 6, the math is hard. I remember the math, right? It's like if a person rents for 3,000, the landlord has to give like 7 or some number along that line. Is that right?
I'm sorry.
I'm
say-
not.
For the relocation assistance. It was like if I rent a unit for like 3,000, the landlord has to give 7 or 8 or some number, right?
We are not touching the relocation. That sits in Palo Alto law. At this point, it was passed way back
But
in 2019.
I'm just asking the question of, because who's funding the relocation?
If
The
there's-
landlord, right?
The landlord, if there's no cause for the eviction, that's very critical.
So, okay. Like this is my one hesitation, right? And I've always had a challenge with the relocate. I know the concept behind it, and I think all of these are really good. I just think if we ask landlords to accept less on the front end, right? We say, we live in a city, you say, okay, I am a big proponent of having less of a security deposit because traditional first and last plus first month rent on a $3,000 unit is $9,000, right? We said that's a hard lift for anybody to move into an apartment. You know, it automatically excludes people. So having something upfront that says, hey, we need to cap what it costs to get in. But then on the back end, we say, okay, now pay them to move out, but we didn't give the landlord the resourcing in the beginning. You understand what I'm saying on parity?
According to the charts that we have from the Bigelow studies, we're not dealing with limitations on security deposits. According to these studies, what exists, Chair, is a fairly well thought out resource allocation for people that are forced to be evicted by no cause. And it's based on the medians of earnings in the county. It was a very
Earning of who? Earning of renters or landlords?
Renters. It has nothing to do with landlords.
That's the challenge. The landlord has to pay it. I get what you're saying. I understand that moving in the county of Santa Clara, county of San Mateo, county of Santa Cruz, Alameda is expensive. And I get with the corporate no cost, but I'm still challenged around the smaller renter. And I don't know, we can talk about it when we get to a motion, but I'm still like worried about the mom and pop shop.
To all of us in this lengthy study, but we have left the municipal code that puts a cap on the number of people per unit. We have not touched the relocation package, and I don't think we should open that Pandora's box.
Okay.
It was not done cavalierly.
Okay. And so to be clear, I don't think anything you guys do is cavalier. I've been in meetings with both of you. I think you are very well thought out. I'm just sharing my one point of tension. Staff, you have to write a report on this. Is there any input or questions you have on this report, please?
Actually, you all have to write the report on this when it goes to council with your recommendations and the reasoning for it. Usually staff does what's called a transmittal. So if there are areas in your recommendations where I feel like there needs to be input from the attorney's office, from the planning department or any other office to help council make their decision. But usually when the HRC brings forth recommendations to the council, the primary document is the document from the commissioners.
All right. Do we have any other comments from commissioners? Any questions, thoughts, ideas? All right.
I have a quick comment.
Yes.
So I am a renter in Palo Alto, and in listening to many of the comments of the public today, I also heard a lot of reservation for landlords or from landlords, and I just want to honor and acknowledge those. But I feel like I don't know enough about laws and codes that are currently in effect, and I know you both have done the research, so I'll only speak to what I feel I know, and that's number one, which is more information for renters themselves and even for landlords. And I sometimes wish that there was just more money that would go towards staff members. Like, you can ask this lawyer questions, because I think just even having that information up front would solve a lot of these issues and would just decrease a lot of the confusion that goes on when you're renting. So I just want to say that I am pro more information and greater community awareness in more places and more languages.
Thank you. All right. Staff, do we have recommendations in a spread, in a Word doc?
Sorry, not in a Word document, just in a PDF.
I might have that to get to you.
Okay, because I think,
I think, yeah, if you want to go through each one, I think that might be helpful. So
yeah,
let me-
I don't see us having, I don't see us having where we put all 8 up and not spend 45 minutes trying to get all 8 to synthesize. I think if we just go through each one, we'll hit the bumps in the roads and see where we work through on the bumps, all right?
if you hold on a second, then I can get it to Elena. Hold on. Yes. Okay. You have it? Yes. Okay.
Thank you so much. All right, I'm gonna make. Yeah, we'll correct a few typos today. All right, the chair would like to make a motion that we accept, recommendation number 1 with the update, of Project Sentinel staff update local online communities. Was that the friendly amendment that we wanted to make? Staff, I see people reaching.
Yeah, no, can you read it out? Because I don't want to respond to something that.
Okay. Council to direct PAMP and Project Sentinel to increase their community outreach regarding the availability of the non-binding Palo Alto mediation program. Although the program is highly effective for landlord and tenant disputes resolution, it could benefit from greater community awareness. The HRC recommends that PAMP and Project Sentinel set up information sessions at the city libraries periodically, and that staff update local online communities, particularly on Nextdoor.
So my recommendation, just to address my comment, it would be the HRC recommends to the city council to direct staff to work with PAMP and Project Sentinel, and then take away about the informational sessions, because that's what I was speaking about, which is operational. So I realize that's an expectation of you. So if this goes with council, this is one of those things where, you can bring it to council and, and council will do with it what they will, but I'll let you know that just on my own, hearing the concern you have with this, that I will work with Project Sentinel and PAMP to increase their outreach efforts and to speak specifically about the idea of the libraries. So, but council might have some comments, that it'll have just in its discussion that staff will have in take into consideration as well.
All right.
Did you want to go vote on each one or
No,
all of them together?
I'm going to vote on each one.
Okay.
I am willing to make the friendly amendment at the beginning of the motion, which is to recommend to council to direct staff to work with PAMP and Project Sentinel. And we can remove at the bottom where it says, no, don't move. We only have to move and go to update local online communities and remove that staff. I'm going to defer to the two authors of these recommendations on the final piece. On the Minka, when we do write a report to council, we can give examples of activities that are done by other.
Right, but this still is pretty operational, and that's your choice not to confer with my advice, but
I'm going to leave it. I don't have too much stake in that piece. I'll leave it to the two authors to see if they want to make that amendment, but
I could, excuse me, I could live
actually,
with,
let me do, I made a mistake on one process piece.
you asked.
No, I'm going to make a motion. I need a second, then we can do amendments. I'm sorry. That was my fault. That was a process piece on my part. Can I get a second on this motion?
I'm sorry, is that a new motion that I don't have on the
No,
screen?
no, I never seconded the motion. I should have made the original motion, went to a second, open for discussion, then made the friendly amendments. I made a mistake procedurally. So I'm just trying to get back on the right procedural track. I apologize. That's my fault, everyone.
I'll second it.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Vice Chair. I am your friendly amendment, Commissioner Kraus.
We're back. Commissioner Everly, would it work for you, since we wrote this together, if we ended the paragraph at the third line? Would that encompass everything that we intended to accomplish and not get in procedural riffraff?
I think that's fine. I think because of the feedback we received in November, we try to be even more specific this time around.
We did a phenomenal job.
I am comfortable ending it there, and then we can give examples of how they can have greater community outreach.
All right. Are there any other amendment? You could remove it. I'll accept the friendly amendment. Do we have any other amendments or any other items in this discussion period? Okay. Are we ready for a vote on this item?
Commissioner Krause, did you intend to end it at Palo Alto Mediation Program, or?
I actually like that staff continued to the sentence following. So thank you. I agree with you.
Okay.
Okay, you want to do, okay, are we good? Are we good with the friendly amendment?
Yes, I think we
We're
can
good.
vote.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to open the floor for vote. Vice Chair Everly,
Aye.
Commissioner Never
Aye.
Commissioner Kraus,
Aye.
Commissioner Savage,
Aye.
Chair Smith, aye. All right. I'm going to put a motion on the floor for item number 2. Can I have a second on item number 2?
Yes. A second.
Commissioner Kraus, second. Are there any, we're open for discussion at this time? Are there any discussion points on this item? Yes, Steph.
I would just ask that you change all rental leases to agreements, because there are people on month to month. So if that's your intention, that, right, and the only other thing, just so for people's acknowledgement, they are already required to put it in. So what I think this is addressing is a mechanism in order to ensure that that happens.
Correct.
Okay.
That is correct. And just to remind everybody that council did ask us basically how effective, how can we make this more effective, basically?
Okay.
The
That's
mandatory
correct.
response clause
Okay.
being on the leases.
All right. So I'm going to ask from from one of my commissioners to make a friendly amendment so we can replace rental leases with rental agreements. Can I have a commissioner make? I can't have staff make that.
Yes.
Commissioner
Good.
Kraus, I'll accept your friendly amendment. All right. Do we have any other changes to this? Okay. We open up for the vote. Commissioner Savage,
Aye.
Commissioner Never
Aye.
Commissioner Kraus,
Aye.
Vice Chair Everly,
Aye.
Chair Smith, aye. All right. I'll make a motion. Sorry, I don't know, one more second. To accept point number 3. Recommendation number 3, I'm sorry. Do I have a second on that motion?
Yes.
Commissioner Kraus seconds the motion. We're at discussion. Do any of the commissioners have an issue or problem issue, or want to make a change, or want to make a friendly amendment to this one? All right. I am ready for a vote. Vice Chair Everly,
Aye.
Commissioner Kraus,
Aye.
Commissioner Never
Aye.
Commissioner Savage,
Aye.
Chair Smith, aye. Okay. I'm on 4. All right, I make a motion. On item number 4, moves that item number 4 be accepted in our recommendations. Can I have a second?
Yes.
Commissioner Kraus, second the motion. We're at discussion. Yes, staff.
So here I just have a question of intent. So I think, Vice Chair Everly, you said during your presentation that you were, and Commissioner Kraus, you were intentionally vague if this was the current landlord registry or the upcoming rental registry program. Is that correct? Which one did you intend, or were you intentionally vague so that council could decide or
Yes.
have that discussion.
I was purposely vague because this has been going on for almost a decade in planning. And I wanted to let council decide which they were pushing forward and which they weren't.
Okay.
I think I have a different read. I didn't think we were vague. We just gave them options, which is you
Again,
can amend
details, yeah.
the ordinance, or you can include it in the rental survey program so that landlords have a chance to register.
Okay.
Because my understanding from staff is that the landlord registry is going to morph into part of the rental survey program.
Right. So this just clarity. So that just gives the council the opportunity to say either or and what a possible solution is for either or that the commission is bringing forth.
Correct.
Okay. That's all I need to know. Thank you.
All right. Does anyone else have a friendly amendment or want a discussion or change to this amendment? All right. Let us do our vote. Commissioner Savage,
Nay.
Commissioner Navachoke,
Nay.
Commissioner Kraus,
A.
Commissioner Eberly.
Aye.
I'll go with an aye. Okay. Chair Smith, aye. We have a 3-2 vote. All right. We are on number 5. Number 5?
Yes.
Okay. I will move. Actually, I can't move on this one because I have still have some issue with the languages. So does anybody want to make a motion?
I will.
Commissioner Kraus makes a
I
motion.
will move that we instruct council.
Or you just accept your,
Oh, okay, yes, yes,
accept your recommendation.
yes.
Oh, okay. Do we have a second?
Can we delete number 4? Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. That in California, we'll be arguing about housing till we get to 1484 and 1482 for. All right.
Do we have a second?
Yeah. Do we have a second?
Oh, I second.
Okay. We are good. We are open for discussion. Yes, Minka.
The only one thing that I have been asked by colleagues who are working on this is under number 1, cover renters who have lived in their units for 1 year. They would like you to consider clarifying if you mean renters who have lived in their unit less than 1 year in the means of eviction protection or rental increases or both.
Yeah, that was my issue with it. I think the cover renters, I think you have to cover both parts. You have to actually say that there.
Okay.
Because.
Okay.
And
Okay.
may I also ask who is covering the renters? Is it council? Is it the landlords? Who does the expectation or burden fall on to cover whatever it is that they're covering for the renters?
It's the landlords.
But so basically they're saying, they can, all of the protections that AB 1484, 1482 give is over, you have to live in a place over a year. So we're basically saying from day 1, you should have these protections.
So friendly amendments.
Yeah, you have to accept it though.
I accept.
What did you say, Minka? I'll make the friendly amendment. No, you'd say it again.
No, I just said cover renters who lived in the units in 1 year. Maybe you could put in regards to eviction protections.
Okay.
Yes.
That makes.
Right.
I'm good with that. Yeah, that's what I was looking for, like, so they're very clear. They might give us one or not the other, but at least we have
Can we
both.
do eviction protections, Elena?
Eviction protections.
Yes, please.
Okay.
And did I miss the inclusion of landlord somewhere in this sentence?
Nope. We were just talking about landlords. We didn't talk about. All right. Is everybody cool with this one? All right. We will begin the vote. Vice Chair Eberly,
Aye.
Commissioner Kraus,
Aye.
Commissioner Navachocke, Commissioner Savage,
Aye.
Chair Smith, aye. You're good. Okay. And I need somebody to make a motion for number 6. Can somebody make a motion for number 6?
I can do that.
Commissioner Kraus makes the motion for number 6. Can we have a second, please?
I'll second it.
Thank you. We are open for discussion. And this is more of an ask. I am still worried about the use of the word duplex. I would ask for friendly amendment, not including where one unit is owner occupied. So the owner is on premises.
I could.
I said, I still have challenges around the word duplex. Because if an owner has an ADU and can do like, but they live on property. So I would ask to make a friendly amendment where it says not including where one unit is owner occupied. Yes,
But isn't that, aren't they already saying that they're not including those?
duplexes, because they're saying not including duplexes.
But
Where
isn't that what you're,
I'm saying he could have 3 units or 4 units if they live in the property.
I think, and this one, I don't have any, clarification for or anything like that. I just think that, I think the word duplex, because in a lot of the current renter protections, that they speak to duplexes, like you have to do all these things unless like you're a duplex and you're in half of it. So I think is that what you were intending, the vice chair and the commissioner?
I mean, we took this language from planning.
The planning staff wanted this clarification in it so that you knew what they weren't. I can look at the notes.
Yeah, we took it from,
It's a friendly amendment. If you guys
Yeah.
don't take it,
Yeah.
it's cool.
Oh, this is what they said. This draft recommendation is currently unclear regarding what the HRC is requesting. Is there a cutoff, or do they want all rental units to have TRA when a tenant is not at fault? Or are they just wanting to add another category of units that qualify for TRA? And that's what I believe the chair and the commissioner are responding to when I provided this feedback to them. With that,
So this is the standard carve out in California for duplexes,
pardon?
or standard planning code at this point. The carve out, the cutoff point is duplexes that owners live in.
Yeah, so how I read this is the one carve out that you're making is duplexes where the owner is in half of it.
All right, it's not gonna kill me.
I know that when they referred it to us, they wanted us they wanted us to tell them whether they should even include the duplexes where one unit was owner occupied. And this is where we drew the line that we wouldn't include that.
Okay.
So from the referral that came to us,
Okay.
does that make sense? And it would take me a little time to be able to find it. But that's where this language came from the original referral.
All right. I'm not gonna keep us here all night for this. We don't have to make the amendment. I get the thinking. And I'll go with it because I don't know if I'm arguing minutia right now. Is this like 10 houses in Palo Alto? I'm good.
That is part of the discussion that we had last time. Now it's coming back to me about how many houses were actually duplexes.
Okay, I'm willing to withdraw my friendly amendment.
And also, I mean, if people don't think it should be less than 10 units, you know.
So I think I'm transposing New York City housing to this question.
Yeah, it's different.
It's very like where I'm from, there's 3 or 4 family houses. So I'm transposing my bias to this and I'm going to walk away from this one. So we can move ahead with the vote. All right. Without any change, don't worry.
Okay.
All right.
City council will grill us, I'm sure.
Yes. Commissioner Eberly?
Aye.
Commissioner Kraus?
Aye.
Commissioner Navachocki? Commissioner Savage?
Aye.
Chair Smith? Aye. Okay. Number 7. I'll make this motion.
7 and 8 are extra. They were not part of the referral. I just want to be clear.
No,
It's us thinking.
no, this is, each recommendation here is valid based on your committee work. You don't have to, you do not ever have to qualify your committee work.
Thank you.
Okay.
If they want people to rubber stamp what they're doing, then this is the wrong board. All right, so let's go. Can I get a second, please?
Me.
Okay, we have Commissioner Kraus with a second. All right, this is open for discussion. I hear no discussion on this. All right. I can only imagine how the people that were protesting about the safe parking are going to like this ordinance. We'll do a vote. Commissioner Savage?
Aye.
Commissioner Navachocki? Commissioner Kraus?
Aye.
Vice Chair Eberly?
Aye.
Chair Smith? Aye. We have a unanimous vote. Point number 8. I will make a motion to accept this recommendation.
Yes.
We have a second from Commissioner Kraus. Do we have any questions on this?
Sorry.
You
Make a friendly
you can make a friendly amendment, please.
amendment to take out, to recommend that council recommends. So
Oh,
take out
right.
the after council?
If there's too many recommends,
Yeah.
so we grammatically have to correct
To
it.
recommend that council
Okay, yes. Okay.
implements?
No,
To recommend council, to recommend that council
Considers the implementation, yes. Or more stronger than that?
no. I think that's it,
So to recommend that council considers
because we can't tell them what to do. We
Yeah.
can only make a recommendation.
the implementation, yes.
that's better. That's
Mhm.
English.
All right.
I accept.
I think this is I think we're in a good spot. Anybody else have any questions on this one? All right, I started with Commissioner Savage, I say. Vice Chair Eberly,
Aye.
Commissioner Kraus,
Aye.
Commissioner Navajokin,
Aye.
Commissioner Savage,
Aye.
Commissioner Smith, Vice Chair, wow, Chair Smith, aye. Okay, thank you all so much. All right. I just want to say a deep and profound thank you to Vice Chair Eberly and Commissioner Kraus. They took constructive criticism and came back with just such a rich report. I loved hearing the details of Mountain View and the Berkeley stuff and the research stuff. You guys really did a 5-star job on this. And I think even if we all didn't agree with all parts of it, nobody can take away from the quality of the work. So thank you so much. All right. We're on lived experiences. I had a Commissioner Navajo.
Thank you very much. And I will try to keep this short just as an update because I know it's gotten late and I will also
No, take your time. That's important stuff.
Well, this is very important and I want to give a lot of time and special attention to the Asian American and Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander experiences in the city of Palo Alto. And the reason we're conducting the survey is to gain more information and just to hear voices in a more formatted way. So we've created a survey of 9 questions and we will receive help from the city's communication team and they'll put the survey on a website and it's the open city system, Minka, that you mentioned. So that will enable translation, which I think will be greatly helpful for responses and for people to participate. And I like the idea that now we plan to provide an option for residents to complete the survey in person at hopefully Cubberley one-on-one. So we'll have different formats. It'll be through phone, online, and also in person. And then we'll have even a link that you can print out the survey itself. So those are just some updates on it. And we're waiting for approval to create a separate email handle, AANA. I'll post it out after at the City of Palo Alto so that participants and any responders can ask any questions that they may have considering the survey itself. But I will share the survey when it's ready and finally public. And I think I could really benefit from the help of all of you just reaching out to the community. And the survey itself asks the question, you know, who else do you think should be responding to the survey whose voice isn't captured? So the hope is just to get like a broad brush of answers of our community members. And it is lived experience, positive, negative. We're asking some demographic information such as age and how long they've lived in Palo Alto, but it's also just meant to hear what their perceptions of themselves are and how they feel perceived in the city of Palo Alto. So I think we'll take all of this information and hopefully create something powerful, but we want to capture just what it's like for AA, NHPI community members, to what it's like for them to live in Palo Alto and how we can all contribute to be better citizens to each other and make our community a safer place. So I think I can't guess what the responses will be like, but I'm really looking forward to hearing just from like true voices. And I really hope that we reach a wider swath, not just those who will respond online, who are maybe just active more on social media, but really make an effort to reach out to our neighbors. I already have people in mind that I want to ask.
Thank you. I have not seen the survey because I'm not allowed to yet, but I've heard some phenomenal responses from those that have reviewed and seen it. They think the questions are extremely insightful. Commissioners, I think it is incumbent on us to dig deep and wide in our network, from every PTA group to the seniors programs, to finding kids to walk and get their parents and grandparents to fill it out. We have to remember the Asian community in Palo Alto is a very wide and diverse swath, and that's why we are doing the survey, because we want to speak to all experiences. As you see, we've we acknowledge the Native Hawaiian population, which is a significant part. So I'm grateful for that. We want to open up for public comment. What is our next step on this? Our next step will be, we're meeting what date in March, Minka?
So the hope is, so Elena has created the website and she is waiting for approval from the internal communications team. She's waiting for the email. She's already put the survey in the open cities. So once we have approval for all that, it will go live. And Commissioner Navachoke has created a little short primer that when it's live, I will send it out to the commissioners and it will say, hey, if you talk to people, this is what it's about. Here's the link and so forth that you could send right on to others. I will add to what Commissioner Navachoke says, if we're going to do these things in person, like speak to like some AA and HPI elders, we're going to need bodies to do that because the bodies, Elena and I are happy to help. But if there are things, or if you know groups of young folks or yourself that are willing to go speak to people in person, I'm really want this paper copy out because I've heard a lot from elders in the past that everything is online and the city doesn't want to hear from them if they can't do something digital. So we definitely want to have the opportunity to do it online. And I think my system just died. So I hope I can get to the public comment. I might have to use your laptop a minute. I can. Yeah, my computer just died. So
Minka, would it be helpful if I read the instructions or some of the questions or?
We're good for now.
Okay. Okay.
So maybe I can come over there, Elena. I know there was one public comment about this, so.
I can lead the comments.
You can get the person to speak? Okay.
Wait, hold on. Let me see. No, I can only see him. I need somebody with it.
I can do it. Hello, Aram. You may speak for 3 minutes.
I apologize because usually I attend the entire meetings, but I wasn't able to do that today. I was a little tired. But first order of business is I'm very excited by the deep dig that's going to be taken with the survey that the commissioner just spoke about. I grew up in Palo Alto. I had lots of experiences with extraordinary members of the Asian community. I was a judoka. That means I practiced judo over at what was then Wilbur. I know it's been renamed after the president, the wife of the president of Stanford University. But so that, and then I wanted to also comment that I have felt that in reference to City Council member Greg Tanaka, he's done an extraordinary job to raise issues around hate directed at members of the Asian community. And I've worked with Greg on a couple of projects, and I really was dismayed that he was jumped over for the possibility of being the vice mayor and the mayor, even though he had 6 years of experience compared to the vice mayor that was actually selected. I'm trying to keep a close eye on whether we have some racism against Greg on the city council, and to be able to speak out on that. Slightly out of order, but I just wanted to make the comment that I was fortunate enough to attend the services at Pastor Smith's church, the AME, this last Sunday, and I wanted to thank him personally for having the NAACP presidency and staff members for the coming year sworn in at your church. I enjoyed the service tremendously, and what a great congregation that you have there. I was there in support of my very good friend, Reverend Jethro Moore, and my very good friend, Sergeant Sean Allen of the Sheriff's Department. So kudos to you, Pastor Smith. And I really actually, even though I'm not a person that has been to the synagogue very much, even though I'm Jewish roots or churches, I found the sermon to be moving, and the discussion about how people can work from spaces where maybe their life hasn't gone quite as well as they want, and develop resilience and, take that experience to be a positive. So thank you for that. That's all I have to say on this particular subject, but looking forward to seeing and hearing the questions that are going to be asked to members of the Asian community. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. All right. This was just a discussion item. Any of the commissioners have any thoughts, ideas, suggestions on this?
Just
One suggestion is that there are groups all around the Bay Area that utilize and gather together young Asian, Pacific Islander, young people that you could engage. And I'm happy to give you some of the names if that is appropriate under the Brown Act. If it's not,
You can
so
just
be it.
get them to me. I do
can-
think there is some the communication that needs to take place, because I think what's helpful is if you all send it to individuals, but if it's groups, maybe you could just let us know, because I'd hate for like a group to be
Absolutely.
10 times. So then we can, Commissioner Navachoke and staff can have like a Google Doc, and we can already know who's been reached out to. Because like
Yeah.
if you want to reach out to the Buddhist temple in Palo Alto, I don't want them to receive it like 12 times.
No, I'm thinking about the organizations that are funded by a man named C.C. Yin out of Sacramento. And he funds a good deal of these that are Bay Area wide organizations, and I'll connect you to his gatekeepers.
Okay. I think it'd
Okay?
be best to pass it to Minka, and we
And
also
I'm happy.
want to keep
give that-
this in Palo Alto. I think maybe we can then speak to other cities, but we're just interviewing
Sure.
residents of Palo Alto, right?
You know, I realize now I just took a license that maybe you don't want me to take on the website, because I stole some language when we did the Black and Brown Lives. We opened it up for people who live, work, worship, or go to school in Palo Alto. Is that still, we did that?
Yes.
I put that for this one. Just want
I
to make
think
sure
that's
that's,
excellent.
okay, great.
All right.
Thank you.
I just have one
Yes.
comment. Just thank you so much for the work. I'm excited to see the questions on the survey. And Minka, I think we can probably work with the schools to give community service hours and get students to go and just wherever, maybe the Buddhist temple, I don't know, to go where people are and have them ask questions, because they would learn so much from it
Yeah.
as well.
Who is the community, if you can just offline, because I think I used to know the community service person at Pali, but if you could let me know who that might be now, that would be helpful.
Yes, I know the parent volunteer, so
Okay.
I will connect.
Okay.
But I think it would be a great service for the kids too.
All right. I just want to make sure nobody else had anything. Commissioner Navachoke, thank you so much. Phenomenal job. I'm excited about this. I think after next month, after we launch, I think we should have a discussion about how long do we let this run? Because yes, how long do we let it run? So I think that's going to be our final discussion point and vote point next week. All right. Do we have any commissioner reports?
Chair, you forgot one item, number 7.
I was trying to skip over that one. All right. Yeah, how about that? We're trying to get the retreat together. I unfortunately, because of travel and job responsibilities, don't have Saturdays free until June.
I'm sorry?
I don't have Saturdays free till about June,
Oh,
because we go into the our holy season, Easter. Then I'm in Israel, and then I come back, and then I have conferences. So I'm like, this has never happened a day in my life before. Could we do a Tuesday evening? Tuesday?
Do we have the results of the poll?
Everybody,
We do, and there weren't,
everybody said Saturday.
yeah,
Yeah,
everybody said
some of
Saturday,
these
but
are-
that Elena and I talked because 2 additional nights opened up. So that was Wednesday, is it the 23rd? And Thursday, the 24th, Elena?
Of March?
February.
Wednesday, February 22nd, and Thursday, February 23rd.
So have you sent those out yet, or you're waiting for the discussion tonight? Perfect. So we're not asking people to respond to that tonight. We were just, tonight was twofold, just to kind of say how the retreat will happen, you know, what usually happens at a retreat for the new folks. And, you know, and then I guess some challenges with scheduling that we have found.
I can go through what happens with new folks while everybody's looking at their calendar. Basically, we start the retreat off with a review of the previous year accomplishments, what we've done, how we've done it. Then we will look at our work plan and say, what have we done anything on, and what haven't we done anything on? Because oftentimes with work plans, you could be really excellent in one area, and then you fall in another area. We will then sit down and start discussing what priorities we want to focus on for this year. You will have some carryover stuff. For example, you'll have your stuff that we always have to do. His rap, CDBG, council referrals, those things. Then you'll have the projects that we're continuing on, like API is NHPI. Community stuff would be a continuation. What we're doing with the young people and the environment is a continuation. And then we'll also ask ourselves some, like, we've all visited nonprofits. We are all members of our city. Are there areas that we see need of? And that's really the important thing. We're supposed to be like canaries in the mine. So if there's something that we're seeing in our community that needs to be addressed, I always go back to, I think only me and Daryl were here at this time, but Gabe Kralik was the chair at the time, and this was the meeting before we got locked down for COVID. And he brought somebody in to talk about hate crimes against the Asian community. This was before COVID happened, and he was so early on it, but he was really like a canary in the mine. And like, it's 3 years later and we're dealing with it still. So those are the kind of things. Minka, did I miss anything?
No, but we're hoping to have in person, and we're actually hoping to have food, and we haven't had that in a long time. So I don't think, Elena, did you specifically say in person? Because we would have the capacity to do multi, I think, as well.
No,
Okay.
we can't, because of the
Oh, yeah.
rules, we have to do it in person.
Yeah, you have to do it in person unless it is a public meeting.
It is a public meeting.
Oh, it is?
It is a public meeting, so there can be all the same rules of having time for the public to speak. Those will all still be in effect. It will still be on Zoom.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
The retreat?
Yes.
The retreat, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
We've had years where people have rallied a lot of people in public to actually show up at the meeting. It's very interesting. Daryl, we were there for that. All right.
So Elena will update that and send it to you, because I think we all sometimes need to look at dates and have conversations before you can see if it works or not. And if we don't have everybody there for those nights, we're going to have a discussion again. So theoretically, the work plans got moved back, so council doesn't need to see them till around May. So
Amen.
if you all can't, yeah. Well, it's going to be a challenge. So what I say when I send these out is not to like select days that work for you. I mean, that you would prefer, but to select every time that you can actually do. Because I think when we fill those out, it's like, well, I don't want to be there on a Saturday. I'll pick the Tuesday night, but you could be there on the Saturday. It wouldn't be your choice. So I think it's even with only 5 people, it's very challenging to find a time that works for all. And yeah, Commissioner Kraus?
Oh, just could we start, if we're doing a Tuesday night, could we start a little early?
Yes, we definitely
I
had
will start
considered
as
that we would
early-
start at 4 or 5.
Yeah.
I will start as early as you want.
Because I get up at 5.
Oh, have mercy.
No, it's past my bedtime.
Yeah, it's
Yes,
Yeah.
with that, we were definitely open to, the one consideration you have, and we have it a little bit less since we're online, but often the concern is not to start too early because it's as if we don't want the public to have comment. But council meetings now all start at 5, and I think we could get away with 4 now that people can do it. So
please,
definitely. So
I know,
maybe.
and I'm not trying to exclude anybody.
No, but
I'm just
should we
begging.
redo it? Would people fill it out differently if we made that, like, if it was a weeknight at 4? That might be better for some and worse for others.
I will tell you that these 2 days that were just thrown out, if it's 4 o'clock, I probably cannot do it. 'cause
Okay,
I'll still
so
be in
maybe
court.
we'll do it, we'll put 4 and 5 o'clock. It's hard to do this kind of thing in public, but,
Well, no, we might as well.
or if you all just send some of your restrictions to us and we'll try to, I don't know.
And is there a time, Chair, when your Saturdays become available again? Since we don't have to turn the work plan in until May?
So, May 13th. It's the issue is my sabbatical travel in April and family travel in March. Like, they throw me off. So I apologize. I'm so sorry. This is an unusual year. Next year, I'll have every Saturday free for you. I have a question. No, that's not gonna work. I was gonna say Sunday afternoons. Cause I can do Sunday afternoons,
Oh.
but I don't know if that works for staff. That's why I want to be reticent on that.
Can we explore that?
You know, if it's a Saturday morning or a Sunday afternoon, I mean, that's
I'm
not,
generally free by 12.
That'd be good.
See, look at that. We put our heads together.
I'd have to see if any protocol wise for the city of having a city meeting on a Sunday. I will say I would probably run that up the flagpole. I'm just saying, I've seen city meetings on Saturdays, and I'm not saying not Sunday for, religious reasons, but I just.
We get it. We definitely get it. So I think we have some thoughts, maybe some weekdays, maybe some weekends. But we'll see where we end up after staff comes back. All right. Do we have any commissioner reports?
I have one.
Yes, you do.
Yes, I do. A few weeks ago, Commissioner Kraus and I met with the Palo Alto Police Department. We spoke with Palo Alto Police Captain James Reifschneider. And here's a little summary of what we discussed. Basically, there were 3 issues we focused on. First was hate crimes. Statistics last year in 2022, there were a total of 12 hate crimes reported, the majority of which were vandalism. And this compares to the previous year, 2021, when there were 9 hate crimes in that year. Overall crime in Palo Alto is actually down versus historical data. There was a trend last year of what the police are calling dinner time burglaries. These would take place in the early evening when the people are out, unoccupied homes, but those apparently have stopped. Good. So both residential burglaries and auto burglaries have decreased. Even catalytic converter theft is down, although it still is a problem, as it is throughout the country. We also spoke about hiring and recruitment. It continues to be challenging for the police department. They're currently budgeted for 84 officers, and they've recently hired 4 new officers who start their training this month. But there remains 5 vacancies, and the department is hoping to fill soon. Police hiring and recruitment remains an industry-wide problem, not just in Palo Alto. And we also discussed the canine program. Palo Alto currently has just 1 dog and 1 handler. In past years, there were as many as 4 dogs. The current dog, his name is Cody. He just completed his basic training, is now in service. He'll be attending a bomb detection school, and when completed, that will enable him to work regionally as well. And a bomb detection dog is especially helpful when dignitaries visit the area. And that's what we've got.
I'm sorry, Aram James still had his hand up during item number 7. I'm not sure if he meant to or not.
He always leaves it up. He missed his time.
For number 7.
Oh.
Oh, the retreat, yes, so he is able to.
We have 3 minutes.
Hi, Aram, did you have comments for items?
Yes, yes, I did. I always make an effort. I just attended the city council retreat where they're talking about priorities at that level. And it's critical to have public participation. I hope that you pick a time where working people, I'm retired now, but I do a lot of pro bono work, but people that would like to come to the meeting, but would be, excluded if the meeting's at 3 or 4 in the afternoon. So think about that. I would like to see police practices issues. I understand that Commissioner Savage talked about the police canines. I'm opposed to canines that bite human beings. So I would like to have that and police practices issues again be a priority for the city. We all know about the recent extraordinarily horrible execution of Tyree Nichols in Memphis, and then Keenan Anderson tasered to death. You can all watch the video. Unfortunately, it's very, very ugly, so you have to be cautious. By tasers were there in Los Angeles, January 3rd. We had another taser death that's been under reported on. A young woman who was tasered to death in South City, and only the Daily Post has reported on it. And I'm trying to get more information from Steve Wagstaff, the district attorney in San Mateo County, on that case. But again, and I also want to look, and I hope all of you have read Janati Shanir's extraordinary piece that was put out in November of 2022, Battling Bias in Policing, what the data reveals about the Palo Alto's effort at police reform. And unfortunately, Andrew Binder, the chief, basically, you can see it in the article. It's not just me saying it. Thumbed his nose at the RIPA data that shows that Palo Alto is still leading the charge of being an old school racist police department with items that go back to the inception of policing, when we had the people that were the quote unquote slave catchers that now became the police, and a lot of the things that were happening when people were enslaved are still happening to people of color in this country. So that's got to be a priority. I also would like to address, as my father was Daniel Benezra Fink. My grandfather was Louis Beyer Finkelstein. He graduated from Cornell in 1913, selling magazine subscriptions. He was the youngest of 19 Ukrainian Jews. But I'd like to see the Palestinian human rights issue be a priority this year. So I'll see you at the retreat. Look forward, Minka, to getting.
Thank you so much, Mr. James.
Yeah, thank you very much.
All right. Do we have any other commissioner reports? Staff?
No, just next month will be his wrap. We got 25 applications. So the review committee, the chair, Commissioner Kraus, and we have a community member working along with staff. We'll be reviewing those in a couple weeks, but that's pretty unprecedented to get 25. So we have 16 current grantees.
Yes, and we struggled with finite money for them last year. So we pray council gives us more money this year. Amen. I can't say that here, but all right. I think the meeting's over. I want to thank each of you, and I will see you next month. Hey, meeting adjourned. Can we get a picture together? Thank you. We haven't been able to do this in a while.